So there's a chance that the NBA season is going to go right into the playoffs, or we're going to have a very short regular season, to the point where I don't think the All-NBA teams are going to be altered that much. So I figure, why not? You know? I mean, it's kind of wild to be doing this in March, but given the circumstances, you know what I mean? Anyway, I think I did this earlier in the season, and it won't be that much different for the first team. So the one thing with the All-NBA teams is sometimes positions get weird. I'm going to go by what dudes were considered for the All-Star game and stuff. So while I would love to put Anthony Davis at center, I don't think it would actually happen in the voting. Similarly, I would be glad to put LeBron at point guard, but he was considered a forward for the All-Star thing, and usually it's consistent between the two, All-Star and All-NBA, so, you know, blame the NBA for being dumb when it comes to positions. So anyway, All-NBA team. The first team for the guards, Luka and Harden. Forwards, Giannis and LeBron. And for center, I'm going to go Jokic. Jokic was not great out of the jump, but he's been the best center in the league all season. Part of it because Embiid has missed time, and also Embiid has just been not as great. Gobert has not been overwhelmingly amazing defensively, and offensively he's been underwhelming for a minute. So, yeah. The forward position is tough. I mean, Anthony Davis and Kawhi are going to go to second team, and with the years those two are having, typically they'd be first team. And again, I would love to put AD at center, but I just don't think I'm going to be able to. But if I was allowed to, then he would certainly be there. I think he's been better than Jokic. For second team, for the guards, I'm going to go Westbrook and Dame. Westbrook was on a hell of a run when the season ended, and I feel like he would have continued that. And Dame was, of course, awesome, and there is a little comparison to be made, and I'll do it now, why not? So, Dame is going to be on here, and Trae Young as well as Bradley Beal are not, right? And it's the idea of great guard who is on a losing team. Why does Dame make it and Beal and Trae Young don't? Well, for one, the Blazers are in the West, so it's a little tougher. 2, they're still better than the Wizards and the Hawks. 3, they're like 2-6 without Dame, I believe. And I feel like if he would have played all 8 of those games, they would be potentially the 8th seed right now. And I think if they were the 8th seed, or just a little closer in the race, they're only 3.5 out, I feel like it wouldn't be a conversation between who's been better between him and Trae and Beal. And I also think he's just been better than them in general. I mean, sure, Dame is not known for his defense, but he's certainly better than Trae Young on that side of the floor, and he's probably neck and neck with Beal, but I still think he's been better, so there's Dame there. For the forwards, I just said AD and Kawhi. So for second team center, I'm going to go Bam. Partly because I think there's a case to be made he's been better than Embiid. Maybe not. Maybe you still think Embiid has been better this season, but he has played a lot more games than Embiid has. I mean, Bam has played, 60-something games this year? The exact numbers, Bam has played 65, Embiid has played 44. I mean, 21 games is a lot of games. So I'm going to give that to Bam. He's switching across everything on defense. He's making plays for Miami. He's just doing a lot of stuff. He was a well-deserved All-Star this season. And then I have another interesting thing for third team center, because Sabonis has also played about 20 more games than Embiid has. And yeah, I think Embiid's a better player. But again, at a certain point, you start to go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe Sabonis has technically had a better year than Embiid because he's simply been out there more. I also can't really have Towns in here. Cat has played nowhere near as many games as even Embiid. He's played 35. So that's where this gets tough. It's with the season being cut off the way it has been, it's like, do I assume that Embiid would have overtaken Sabonis, or do I just look at what has happened up to this point? Well, if I was going to do that, the second one, then I would give it to Sabonis. If I was going to go with the first, then it would be Embiid. So I don't totally know what to do, but I think I'm going to go Sabonis, if anything, because why not? I just kind of want to. But again, he has played 20 more games than Embiid. That's a lot. So, yeah. The rest of the third team, the guards, I got Chris Paul and Lowry. Apologies to Beal and Trae Young, but the gap between CP and Lowry defensively and those two is massive. And, Raptors are the 2 seed when we all thought they'd be mediocre. Thunder are the 5th seed in the West. Like, those two got to be in there. Forwards, I got Jimmy Butler and Pascal Siakam. And then Sabonis at third team. So does that mean I do not have Joel Embiid for an All-NBA team? Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of wild to say. And now we get into the close calls. So for the guards, they would be 1, Ben Simmons. Ben, of course, has been great defensively. When I eventually do my all defense vid, he's going to be first team. I'll just tell you now. But Philly's still been a bit of a disappointment. It's not all his fault. It's not all any one person's fault, but I think everybody's got to take a little hit as a result. I mean, if they had been what we all thought they would be this year, then I could picture myself having Ben Simmons in here, but it's just kind of the way it goes, Jimmy for Miami, speaking of guards, you could refer to him as a guard this season. He looks like the point guard a lot of the time when I'm watching him, but he's considered a forward, so I just got to stick to those rules. Kyrie, of course, has just simply not played enough. Made my Trae Young case. Zach LaVine, no. If we move on to the West guards who could have been in here, if we're looking at the West guards, you're looking at Mitchell and Devin Booker. Yeah, like you could have either one of those two over someone in my guard rotation thing, and I wouldn't really think you were crazy for it, but it's just the way it goes, man. You only get 6 spots, and 2 of them are going to go to Luka and Harden, so someone's feelings have to get hurt, and Donovan Mitchell's getting the boot for me. If we talk about forwards, I think the big one would be Tatum, the one to think about. When you line up Tatum and Siakam's numbers for the year, they're not insanely off from one another. I mean, because of Tatum's run, his efficiency got to 56% true shooting, which is a lot better than what it was early in the season. But with Siakam, I think Siakam was more consistent game to game. I think Tatum, he was blah out of the gate, and then he became awesome for an extended period of time. Whereas I think Siakam was just very good from the beginning all the way to when the season ended. And I think that just sits better with me than the way Tatum went about it. Even if Tatum has remained like the plus-minus god this season, like when he's in the game, the Celtics are awesome almost regardless of who's actually around him. So, that's fine. If you want to go Tatum over Siakam, I wouldn't fault you for it. I should probably mention Paul George as well. I think the games played just hurt PG too much. I mean, he wasn't as good as last year, and he's also missed about 10 games compared to Siakam and Tatum, so I feel like that just kind of pushes him out of it for me. Could give Brandon Ingram a nod as well. And then as for centers, I don't know. I mean, the center market, again, because of Embiid and Cat's games missed, and once you get past those two and Bam, Sabonis, and Jokic, the center position just kind of drops off in general. Especially because, again, I think Gobert, the last couple of weeks wasn't that awesome. The Jazz defensive rating tanked. It wasn't that good even with him in the game. I mean, you look at it right here. In the last 15 games, Gobert's defensive rating has been 115. That is not good. So I feel like you just kind of gotta punish him in some way for that. Because if he's not going to be the, modern day Bill Russell, then he just doesn't have a case up here, if you ask me. So, yeah, I guess to recap one more time. First team, Luka, Harden, Giannis, LeBron, Jokic. Second team, Russ, Dame, AD, Kawhi, Bam. Third team, CP, Lowry, Jimmy, Siakam, and Sabonis. I'm going to be doing like all rookie and most improved and all defense and all that in the upcoming days here because, well, you know why.